Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us on this Sunday. We begin with two mass shootings. The first at a waterfront bar in Southport, North Carolina. 3 people were killed. The second happened at a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc, Michigan. The church was badly damaged, as you see there, by fire after police say a man crashed his vehicle into the building, then opened fire on worshipers. At least 2 people were killed, 8 others injured. President Trump tonight called it, quote, horrendous, adding this appears to be yet another targeted attack on Christians. CBS's Chanel Call is tracking this story and has the very latest for us tonight. Chanel.
And Jerika, this happened inside a massive church complex in a small suburb of Flint, Michigan. There were hundreds of people inside, and tonight, police are still searching for a motive.
There's an active shooter at the church, and they're all TVs on scene saying the building's on fire.
Gunfire erupted inside this Grand Blanc, Michigan church during Sunday service. Authorities believe 40-year-old Thomas Jacob Sanford from nearby Burton, Michigan, drove this truck into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints before gunning down worshipers with an assault rifle and setting the building on fire.
I need manpower up here ASAP. I have people trapped in the building. Repeat, people trapped in the building.
The gunman was killed in a shootout with police. Tony Deck lives next door to the church.
I saw 4 tarps at the time. I don't know what's left there now, but 4 body tarps. It was right up the street from my house, probably 300 yards. Police everywhere, 50, 100 police cops, ambulances, fire trucks everywhere.
Thick, billowing black smoke could be seen for miles above and around the huge church complex for hours before crews put out the fire.
And we do believe that there was people up there that were near that fire and they were unable to get out of the church. So we do believe that we will find additional victims once we're able to search.
Hello, Bobby Jones here from MeidasTouch and Valor Media Networks. And today I'm also here as president of Veterans for Responsible Leadership. I want to talk to you about 2 tragedies that occurred this weekend, separated by a day and separated by about 800 miles. But what links them is something that I've talked about before and I think needs to continue to be addressed. Veterans' mental health and the system that is designed to treat it is falling apart. And as it falls apart, it's not just veterans that are being affected, it's also communities. On Sunday morning in Grand Blanc Township, Michigan, a former Marine drove a truck into a Mormon church, opened fire on worshipers, and then set the building ablaze. 4 people were killed, 8 injured, and then the gunman was killed by police. Authorities have identified him as Thomas Jacob Sanford, 40 years old, a Marine who had served in Iraq, and the motive is still unknown. Federal agencies, to include the FBI and ATF, are investigating, but they really don't know what drove him to do this, at least not yet. Now, less than 24 hours earlier in Southport, North Carolina, which is the Wilmington area, a shooter on a boat opened fire on a crowded waterfront bar, killing 3 people, injuring 5. Police arrested Nigel Edge, 40 years old, who, according to officials, identifies himself as a combat veteran who has had PTSD. And what's interesting about it is now he has multiple counts of first-degree murder and that the attack was ruled as something that was premeditated. You know, veterans hear from Americans all the time, thank you for your service, thank you for your service. We really appreciate it. While those are nice gestures, the system that was designed to help veterans and avoid these type of tragedies is falling apart. Now, let me be very clear. Service does not mean violence once you get out. Plenty of veterans, most veterans, overwhelmingly majority of veterans serve their country and then go on to serve their communities and become leaders in their communities. But when we're talking about a suicide rate that's around 18 a day, and at its height 22 a day, that is nearly double the rate of non-veteran adults in America. That means you have a problem. There was a veterans crisis hotline that exists, but when the current administration came into office, they automatically defunded it until people realized that there was no one on the other end of the phone call. While veterans are still fighting to get timely, relevant care, the current Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, has called every general and every admiral in the United States military to Quantico, Virginia, to give what many are now saying will be a pep talk on the warrior ethos. Now, I've done a separate video on my thoughts about that, and it now looks like that President Trump is also going to be joining in that speech. By the time you see this video, the speech should have been done. But make no mistake, the hours of travel, the cost to get all of these flag officers together is significant and unprecedented, as in never before in American history has such a speech been done. But here's the thing. All of those generals and admirals have to show up in their dress uniform because they want the visual, the propaganda of the speech to hit hard. Now, this is what they're doing to try to show the active duty community that they care by giving you pictures. Meanwhile, those that wore the uniform that were on active duty, many of which who fought the longest war in American history, are being left by the wayside. And that is what makes the tragedies that happened this weekend so overwhelmingly devastating. These things could have been avoided with proper mental health care, with proper access to that mental health care. Many veterans can avoid having some of the fates that we're seeing. And I'm not just talking about shootings. I'm talking about the homelessness issue. I'm talking about the lack of holding a job issue. All of these things are connected. Many of them have to do with mental health. America as a whole is suffering from a mental health crisis. This has been well documented. The veteran community, though, has a much more acute, higher percentage number than the average American. That being said, if you figure out a way to treat veterans, maybe we can come up with better, more effective ways to treat Americans who are suffering. To have a photo op of this magnitude in Quantico, Virginia, when you have not one, but two tragic shootings led by veterans, sends such a contrasting picture that I don't know if the current administration understands the severity of the crisis that they're dealing with. When you couple that with the fact that many healthcare workers, veteran, non-veteran, just healthcare workers in America, 50% of them are trying to switch job professions here in the next year, and the crisis becomes even more acute. When you also factor in the changes to healthcare, to Medicaid, all of these things are creating a perfect storm where not only are we dealing with a mental crisis, but public safety as a whole can be affected. In my role as President for Veterans for Responsible Leadership, I've had the honor and privilege to speak to veterans all over the country, actually all over the world. And here's the thing. Veterans as a whole want to serve their community. They want to lead, as I mentioned earlier. But I have yet to meet one veteran that has not said that there has been a problem with them working with the VA. Now, the other thing is there is a quiet anger that many of them have, not because of lack of recognition, but lack of access to the things that they need. If you talk to a veteran that, served any type of time, deployed anywhere, chances are there's something that deployment has done that sticks with them long term. I mean, when you talk about a suicide rate that is so high, when you talk about not being able to hold a job, when you talk about the number of veterans who have died waiting to be seen by specialists, that is tragic. And so now I'm not saying that veterans' mental states lead to violence. That is not what I'm saying at all. What I am saying is this. There are usually warning signs for people who take these type of actions. That includes veterans. And the thing is, there are supposed to be support groups, support actions that help alleviate some of this. And right now, show me your time, show me your budget, and I will show you your priorities. Well, if I look at the current administration's time and budget, I see a lot of money going to ICE and very little money going to the VA. I see a lot of people being hired to do ICE operations. I see less and less people not only being hired, but being fired from the VA. So this is what the administration is showing us. They value what's happening with the deportation efforts more than they do the people that have served and defended this country. And then the final piece is this. Veterans don't want special treatment. They just want the system that's supposed to be in place to work. And if you think this is going to just be limited to veterans, you need to think again. Those of us who are older, those of us who are relying on certain government programs that you've paid into your entire productive life, those things are being rolled back as well. These are not handouts. Medicaid, VA health. Those are things that you actually literally earned. Some of us by fighting for it, some of us by putting in every paycheck for decades. And it's all being rolled back. And the question you have to ask yourself is, what is the end game? If you can't take care of the guys that have already served, how are you going to take care of these new recruits that you say you desperately need in the military? How are you going to be able to look someone in the eye and say, hey, no matter where we send you, we're going to take care of you, when they can look right down the street and see a homeless veteran? How are you going to sit there and say, thank you for your service, when you have targeted homelessness, many of them homeless vets, in your National Guard occupation of Washington, D.C.? Don't tell me that you thank us for our service. Show me. And in this case, we saw two mental cases that were taken to the extreme, same age, both deployed. And here we are with more blood on our hands.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.